Now, as we move right along with the cross-examination of the best friend, Tumelo Madlala, we are learning some very, very important life lessons as well. Like, be careful of the friends that you keep. Because, yeah, one day you might just find yourself in a life-threatening situation and none of them can even call the ambulance for you to be saved. None of them can even call the police. I mean, so what if you have never called the police before? There's a first time for everything. Your childhood friend lying there on the floor with a gunshot wound should be reason enough for you to start.
I am woman, I am fearless, I am sexy, I'm divine, I'm unbeatable, I'm creative, honey, you can get it in line.
Hi there, my name is Tumelo Madlala. Welcome back. Before we dive into the nitty-gritties of this cross-examination, please show your support for this channel, guys. If you have not subscribed yet, I'd really appreciate it if you clicked that subscribe button and left a like and a comment. That is very important to me. Thank you very much. Now, as this cross-examination continued, I found myself wondering, does anybody need to give you a crash course, especially about court proceedings, when you're about to take the stand for the very first time in your life? I mean, I felt like at some point this witness unraveled. He was now the one trying to ask the defense some questions. Instead of just sticking to answering the questions that he was being asked, he became very aggressive at some point. He even had to be told to behave. Not to mention he was talking way too much. I almost felt like he was going to shoot himself in the foot at times. Generally one needs to understand that in a question and answer session, which is what a cross-examination is by nature, the person who's asking the questions will highly likely have follow-up questions based on the responses. And the more you explain, the more they will have follow-up questions. That's how it works. So this clearly became a field day for the defense team because this witness was really spilling a lot of detail. And let's start at the point of understanding what the role of the witness is. I'm not a lawyer, but as the defense counsel Zandile Mshololo explained it, as the witness, you wait for the question to be asked, you respond, not the other way around. When you didn't get the question, you ask for it to be repeated, then you respond. So your main job is to answer the questions as truthfully as you can, not to now refuse to answer questions or to answer certain questions and say, since you didn't write the statement, people should call the person who wrote the statement so that they can come and answer. No, you were there at the scene of the incident. Is that what you saw? Simple as that. I don't understand why these witnesses feel like they need to refuse to answer certain questions. To me, it's almost giving hostile witnessing. It's like people who are feeling like they are being cornered or they are being trapped, so they need to protect themselves. But why would they feel like that if they are telling the truth? Why would they feel like that if they are telling the truth? And again, what's with vehemently trying to make it seem like yours is the only truth out there? When the defense kept trying to corroborate some statements from Kelly's statement, Tumelo seemed to be very aggressive at opposing some of those statements. Like one where the statement said there was a lot of blood from the deceased. He seemed to have a very strong opposing view, saying he only saw a blood spot. So he doesn't understand whoever wrote that statement where they saw that lot of blood from. Having different views is not a problem. But when it seems like you are now butting hairs, when you're supposed to be on the same side, you were at the same crime scene, it's now giving like a side-eye type of moment. And also when he was asked about Mtoko partaking in the scuffle, instead of just saying no or I didn't see him, this witness was like, Mtoko is not the type of person to be involved in a scuffle, and even indicated that at the earliest opportunity Mtoko fled. All that was not necessary. At this point, we don't know which one of their versions is the truth. Plus, I'd understand if anybody took the first opportunity to flee and they fled. When there are intruders in the house with a gun, I would understand somebody fleeing instead of trying to fight back. Then when the questions were shifted to who possessed the deceased's phone, after the incident happened. Mr. Madlala was very adamant that there couldn't have been anybody else who could have been in possession of that phone other than Senzo's girlfriend, even placing the phone in her possession at the time of the SIM swap. That part seemed very straightforward to me. So I guess it's now up to the court, if they have any follow-up questions, to direct them to the person who possessed the phone at the time. And the part that continues to amaze me was the question on why did you not call the police? I was actually waiting for this question to be asked because I wanted to hear what the answer is. I had hoped that he would say, I tried to call the police, it just wouldn't go through. Or I called the police, they just didn't come fast enough and we decided to take him to the hospital. I had hoped to hear that. But no, he was still very defensive. Then he said he never called the police before in his life. So what? What does that have to do with anything? But the surprising thing is that he managed to call Senzo's brother. He managed to call his girlfriend, his madam at the time, even his family. Lastly, I'll just mention the part of the hospital's assessment of the patient at the time of arrival at the hospital. Mshololo said the statement read, at arrival, the patient had no pulse, was not breathing, the pupils were fully dilated. I mean, to a layman sitting there in the court, listening to all these proceedings, that statement to me seemed to imply that the patient was already far gone when he came. It was just for us to read between those lines, even though we are not doctors. Now, the defense's whole argument is that there was never an intruder in the house. However, we'll need for them to bring more than just circumstantial evidence to the forefront. We need to know at some point to understand why there was even an offer to go for a holiday during the investigation. At this point, we're just having more and more questions, not answers. We'll definitely keep paying attention to this unfolding of events, friends. Hopefully next week we'll bring some new facts to this case. I'll see you again very soon. Please keep well.